You're gonna count me down. All right, hello and welcome to the Adobe Creative Challenge. We'll be getting to know each other over the course of the next 5 days. I'm really looking forward to it, and we'll be jumping today into a feature that I personally really love. Other than that, if you haven't signed up yet, you may be interested in going to behance.net/challenge/premiere. And you can sign up there for the next 5 days. You'll get notified about the challenges. And if you're there at the right time, you might catch a sneak peek in what is coming up. Today, we'll be talking about speech to text. This is a feature that I have personally been wishing for a long time, just because transcribing sequences is very daunting. It's just a lot of work. And it's usually not fun work, especially as a creative thinking person, as someone that likes to work with video. So we're going to take a look at how we can create captions very easily. And what I've prepared is kind of a real life example today. What I usually do when I create longer form videos is that I try to build or try to build up in the first 30 seconds to 1 minute something that I can then turn into an Instagram story, into an IG reel, or into a TikTok or something for YouTube Shorts. And that's what we will be looking at today. So let's jump into Premiere. And just for those of you who are new to Premiere, let's take a brief look and orient ourselves. This is basically my project folder. It's all nice and sorted. One of the biggest tips I can give to everyone is organize yourself. It definitely helps. And here we have our text tab in which we will be working in a second. And this is our sequence. Not to confuse anyone, what you see are basically just video clips. This is our voiceover layer. We have a little bit of raw sound in here. We have a music track and a few sound effects. And I'm going to play this back to you so you just get an idea what we'll be working with today. Let's blow this up a little bit and let's have a brief look at it. There are many healthy habits you can build, but it seems that there are a few that stand out among the plethora of practices you can adopt. Whether it is mindfulness, productivity, or well-being you pursue, the ones you almost always hear about are meditation, journaling, and reading. For some weird reason, exercise does not always make the list, but I have a feeling for why that is. The habit I want to speak about is none of those that I've listed, yet it is fundamental to all of them. More than that, in my opinion, it is key to personal growth and self-actualization. What I'm speaking about is... Okay, that's it. This is what we will be working with. We won't recreate a whole sequence, but we will rather have a look at how we can create captions fast and easy. As you may have noticed, I like to use a lot of words in my voiceover, which turns into a problem as soon as I want to create captions. Luckily, with this tool, it's pretty easy. We will go to the text tab. If you cannot see this in your window, or if you are searching for it, an easy way to find it or to make sure that it's actually pop up is you go to Window, then you go all the way down to Text, and it should pop up for you. And to create a transcription, it's literally just the push of a button, and that's what we're going to do. Then it shows us our sequence name. It's IG. That's what I've prepared here. Sequence length, 38 seconds. Looks good to me. Language is English. As a German native speaker, I also tried it out in German. Works flawlessly. And now we could analyze either all the clips that are tagged as dialogue. We could do that, or we could do the whole track. And that pretty much works for us because we have the track already isolated. And we could analyze everything, but that would kind of make the AI's job a little bit harder. We don't necessarily want to do that. So what we're going to do is select audio 1, which is basically the layer where our voiceover lies. We could also transcribe in to out point. Just to briefly show you this, if I go in this track, I press I for in and O for out, and I would only transcribe this segment. We could do that as well, but for now, we will clear in and out, and we want to transcribe the whole sequence, right? So we're not going to check that. We could also recognize when there would be different speakers, so we can also use this for an interview, but for now, we don't need that. We might as well uncheck this, and then we'll transcribe. And we're going to wait a little bit, but not too long, because this is working quite quickly. And then we'll take a look at the results, which are coming in a few seconds. And there we go. There it is. It says here unknown because I've unchecked the speaker box. If I would check the recognized speaker box, it would say something like speaker 1. I could also rename that, but we don't necessarily need to do that. Just to give you a brief overview of what the functions are in this panel. If you're working on a huge monitor and everything you're seeing in front of you is quite big, you can as well just reduce the font size a little bit, minimize the font size a little bit. This is the normal view. If you have bad eyesight like I have, you might blow this up a little bit. And this is a very interesting feature I have not used so much. It won't do much here because there are no longer pauses in my speaking, but if there would be any, we could indicate this in the captions with pushing these 3 dots down here. And now we want to see how good of a job the AI did. And for that, I will hit space and play back the clip one more time. There are many healthy habits you can build, but it seems that there are a few that stand out among the plethora of practices you can adopt, whether it is mindfulness, productivity, or well-being. Okay, we have a small little area here, and basically what Premiere is doing, we are playing it back and we can read live and see how good of a job it did. That's just a small adjustment here. Productivity or well-being is what it should say. My pronunciation is not necessarily clear, so that sometimes happens. Your well-being you pursue, the ones you almost always hear about are meditation, journaling, and reading. For some weird reason, exercise does not always make the list, but I have a feeling for why that is. Okay, and there's one thing I personally want to change, that's personal preference. Setting a period at this point is like absolutely right, but I'm not saying I have a feeling for why that is. I'm saying I have a feeling for why that is. So I'm kind of leaving it open, and I also want to indicate it in the captions. I don't know if that's technically right, but we're doing this for social, and I feel that it feels right. So let's move on. I have a feeling for why that is. The habit I want to speak about is none of those that I've listed, yet it is fundamental to all of them. More than that, in my opinion, it is key to personal growth and self-actualization. What I'm speaking about is... Okay, and there we have our cliffhanger. Instead of a period, we're going to do this one. I think it's a colon in English. I hope that's right. And we have literally created our transcript in, I think it was under a minute. Now, the next step will be to create the captions. And again, it's just a push of a button. You go to this CC icon here, and that's it. To give you, like I said, an overview, if something would be completely wrong with this transcript, like for instance, I would have accidentally not chosen A1, but A2, audio layer 2, which wouldn't really do much. But let's say we have another kind of dialogue there. We could retranscribe the sequence. We could also export the transcript. We have different options for different files. If we, for instance, want to either upload it to YouTube separately, or we working on the documentary and we want someone else to work with the captions file, we have all these options. The spelling is also checked here, which me as a non-native speaker helps a lot. Getting things right. This is also like for all the non-native speakers that are working in English, this is sometimes I mean, there's always a subliminal fear that there might be a spelling mistake somewhere. So I'm very, very glad about that. And there's even a spell check setting, which we could adjust further if we wanted to. All right, but I'm really happy with how this all worked out so far. So we're going to click and create a caption. And we can either choose to create it from the sequence transcript or create a blank track. We want to create it from the sequence transcript. And what we can do here is choose a preset. There are presets available we will not use for today. Format, again, different formats available, but like I said, we want to do this quick. We want to get this done. Style is done. What I like to do is to increase the maximum length in characters to 50. I feel that's a good value, but that's personal preference. You can experiment with that. And the minimum duration, we can set it down to 2 seconds. I feel that's quite all right. I do not necessarily want a gap between the caption, and we can either choose if we want only single lines or if we want double lines. I feel very comfortable with the double, but that may be preference as well. And again, just with the push of a button, we click create. It's going to create the captions. And what has happened here, if you have not seen this, Premiere has created a separate captions track that before wasn't there. If you go one step back, it's going to disappear. We go one step forward, there it is again. And as you may have seen, the captions appeared down here in my video. So the first thing that I'm doing is to go to Essential Graphics. Again, if you cannot find it, go to Window in your options, and then from there on out, find the Essential Graphics panel. And we're not going to go to Browse, but we're going to go to Edit. And what I did is I basically, with my cursor, marked all my clips. And then we're going to choose our font first. That's what I usually do here in the text field. I'm going to go with Baskerville. That is personal preference. Maybe so that you can see a little bit better, we will increase this to 75 or something, maybe to 70. There we go. Okay. I'm choosing a serif font out of personal preference because I feel that serif fonts are kind of getting lost in this modern day and age where everything is sans serif. But you can also absolutely go with a different font if that feels better to you, if that looks better to you. Do not necessarily be swayed, be primed by my personal preference. I just really like it and really like how it looks. What I don't like so much is, let's see if we are here, you can see it quite well. I do not necessarily like the shadow, so we're gonna uncheck that. And a problem we very often have, or I encountered a few times when I've put my first videos with captions on Instagram Reels or TikTok, is that when the captions are that far down there, like literally here, this is where your icon and where your video description will be, and this will actually cover your captions. We don't want that, so I'm going to type in -200 here, have it a little bit further up there, maybe even -250, so that everyone in the internet world on social media can read it. Okay, that looks a little bit better. It might look a little bit small to you right now, but if on a phone, I have made the experience that this absolutely works. And let's have a look at how this plays. Oh, by the way, what I did to zoom in or out is I'm using shortcuts. So what I did was click plus to get in and minus to get out. This helps increase the workflow, and is also something we will be speaking about in the next days. And what I see immediately is that this first one here is a little bit short. So let's have a look at that again. There are many healthy habits you can build, but it seems that there are a few that's... Okay, so I want the first sentence to be in this first block of captions. There are many healthy habits you can build. The sentence ends there. So I'm literally just with my cursor going to drag the element back here, drag this out a little bit, and then I'm going to double click in the text panel into the captions to make my, personal adjustments. Command C, I will copy this out, or Control C if you're working on a Windows computer. There are many healthy habits you can build. There are many healthy habits you can build, but it seems that... Okay, this looks good to me, but I want this to be a little bit more even out. So we can go here and add a paragraph. There are many healthy habits you can build, but it seems that there are a few that stand out among the plethora of practices you... Okay, this is not perfectly readable, and we have two options to adjust for that. I'm going to show you one very quick and easy fix, which is Sometimes not ideal. I guess some people like it, some don't. And you can see I've brought back the shadow by checking it down here. And what I will do now is increase our last slider here and kind of diffuse this shadow, if you can see this, until it looks, I won't say naturally, but it's not so much of a hard shadow anymore. It's a bit dissolved. And we could, with our middle slider here, like bolden this all up. We don't necessarily want to do that. So I'm going to stay down here at 5 or 6, going to reduce the distance to 0 so it's centered. And I don't really want there to be that much of a shadow, so I'm going to reduce it to 50%. And just to have a look at it, when I check it, it's a bit better to read. The other fix would be, but that's a whole different topic, is to go in my Lumetri panel and bring the highlights a little bit down. But since it's speech to text today, we, in our central graphics panel, will stick with the shadow for now.
That stand out among the plethora of practices you can adopt, whether it is mindful.
Okay, and I want this to end with the video clip.
You can adopt, whether it is mindfulness, productivity, or well-being you pursue, the ones you almost all.
Okay, and there I will double click on the clip I want to adjust, double click again. And as you can see here, there's a paragraph that doesn't necessarily need to be there. I think it looks better if we don't have this. There we go, fixed.
About our meditation, journaling, and reading. For some weird reason, exercise does not always make the list, but
Okay, this is a little bit too long. I want to change this a little bit.
For some weird reason.
And we're just going to go on to reason, and I will cut this clip up. What we can do for this is either select the razor tool and then set a cut by clicking here, or we can just simply click C on our keyboard. That's the shortcut for the razor tool, and set the cut. And I just want to have, for some reason, actually some weird reason, but that doesn't need to make it into the caption. And then we're going to move over here. Oops, double click. Deleted a little bit too much. Exercise, delete the paragraph.
Reason, exercise does not always make the list, but I have a feeling for why that is. The habit I want to speak about.
And again, just going to adjust for the paragraph. And that's also, by the way, personal preference. We could have left it as it was, and it would have worked anyway. But I like things to be a little bit.
The habit I want to speak about is none of those that I've listed, yet it is fundamental to all of them. More than that, in my opinion, it is key to personal growth and self-actualization. What I'm speaking about is...
Okay, one thing we may want to think about is, since I have motion graphics operating at this stage, and the same really applies for titles, do I really need that caption? I don't think so, not necessarily. I think if someone would be watching this without the captions on, without sound on, the viewer would still understand what is going on. So I'm going to delete this, and it will actually not, I cannot delete it. I'm sorry. That was silly of me. What I'm going to do is just delete the text. And there we go.
More than that, in my opinion, it is key to personal growth and self-actualization. What I'm speaking about is...
Okay, and done. And this way, so the idea for why I'm basically blanking this part out is that we're not taking away so much focus from the motions. And let's have another look at that. If we're happy with it, playing it back one more time.
There are many healthy habits you can build, but it seems that there are a few that stand out among the plethora of practices you can adopt. Whether it is mindfulness, productivity, or well-being you pursue, the ones you almost always hear about are meditation, journaling, and reading. For some weird reason, exercise does not always make the list, but I have a feeling for why that is. The habit I want to speak about is none of those that I've listed, yet it is fundamental to all of them. More than that, in my opinion, it is key to personal growth and self-actualization. What I'm speaking about is...
Okay, I think this looks good. So we now need to speak about one more important thing, how to export all of this. One way to export it is to go to File and Export and then Media. Another one is to click Command and M, but if you're working in the newest version of Premiere, we can simply go up here, click Export, and we will be led to our export window. What we want to do now is we can adjust everything here, but that's currently not what is important for us, but we want to go down to the Captions tab, open this one up, and luckily it says already burn captions into video. So if you want to export a video and the captions to be visible and not to export the captions separately, this is what you want to choose. Sometimes it may by default be set to none. And if we scrub through this, you can see that if we set it to none, obviously there are no captions, but we want captions. So we want to select this before we actually hit export. We won't do that for now. But I think with a little bit of time left, let's have a little experiment. What I've prepared is one more little scene where I'm basically having a conversation with myself, which, by the way, in this whole process of creating captions, this is what took up the most time, me talking, me speaking. And as you will see, the second track is, it's not really audible. So we might make up for that by, on the one hand, adjusting it a little bit, making it a little bit more louder, but on the other hand, by creating captions. Let's have a brief look and see how we will work this out.
Wait. Curiosity is not a habit. Like, that's more like a personality trait. You either are curious. Is that so? Or you're not. Let's look at the definition of a habit. A settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. That is basically how I would describe a curious person.
Okay, I mean, that's enough already. You can clearly hear that the first audio track is way louder than the second one. We might try adjust it, like maybe increase it to 5. Oh, I'm sorry, that was maybe a little bit quick. What I'm doing is you can either select the track and then go to your audio adjustments. But what I do is just on my keyboard, hit the letter G, and then I can adjust my audio by, for instance, 5 dB, put this up.
Curiosity is not a habit.
Okay, it's already better, but it's still not perfectly clear. This is because I'm far away from a microphone. So let's give it a go and see what Premiere does with it. We're going to select audio 2 in this case, transcribe it, all we have done so far. And how will it go? It's transcribing. I was really keen to try this out and see how good it works, and it works flawlessly. Obviously, that's okay. Let's have a.
Wait. Curiosity is not a habit. Like, that's more like a personality trait. You either are curious. Is that so? Or you're not. Let's look at the definition of a habit.
Okay, except for this last part, which is where I say whatever. It's all that I want. What we can do now is again create captions, just like we did before. I'm going to go with my personal standard settings, which you definitely do not have to take. Please experiment. We're going to hit create. Premiere will put out the captions. I'm going to super quickly do everything that I did before. And adjust for it, put out the shadow, maybe put it up just a little bit because this is not vertical. Oh, this is way too much. And let's have another quick look at it.
Wait. Curiosity is not a habit. Like, that's more like a personality trait. You either are curious. Is that so? Or you're not. Let's look at the definition of a habit. A settled or regular tendency or practice.
Okay.
Person.
Oh, I just wanted to have a look at
basically how I would describe a curious person.
Okay, works perfectly. And with that, we're at the end of today's challenge. I've shown you a real quick way how to create captions and play around with it a little bit, how to create them for social especially. And I hope to see, and I'm keen to see what you actually make out of it. Other than that, we will be seeing each other tomorrow for the next challenge, which I'm extremely looking forward to, and I hope to see you there again. I also much appreciate you being here and sticking with me. And with that, there's nothing left to say except then stay tuned for the next live stream coming up, and we'll see each other tomorrow.